So till now we have came so far in our business analyst journey, and we have talked about the introductory part, and we have also covered the collaboration with the stakeholder, and also we have talked about the third segment, which is the discovery of a customer, and then we have looked into some kind of business process mapping and also covered the requirement side of the business analyst. Then we have been starting from the user stories since yesterday, and then we will be moving forward with our user acceptance test. So in the introductory part, we have talked about the comparison between the admin side and the BA and their best practices and their skills, and also looked into some kind of models, the development model, and even looked into the implementation life cycle. And in collaboration with the stakeholder, we have talked about whiteboarding and the 360 view of the customer with the help of some tools, and also looked into some kind of techniques which is being useful in order to influence a customer or the client. And based on some kind of techniques, we have also looked into how we can build our relationship with the client and the customers. And then we have jumped towards the sales part of the business analyst, where we have looked into why the client alignment or why the stakeholder alignment is necessary and what are the best practices of it, and also looked into the prototyping side. Then we have talked about the customer discovery, where we have looked into some models like V2MOM, and with the help of V2MOM, we have talked about the strategy to align with the client and the stakeholders. Then we have also looked into why we needed a customer centric discovery and what are the content development strategies and why governance is being involved. Then on 7th July, we have talked about the starting of a journey with the Salesforce, where we have talked from the beginning itself, like what are the ecosystems, how Trailhead work, what are the developer org, and different environment. Then we have also looked into the securities, and even we have looked into how Salesforce work, what are the basic features optimizer work, how we can optimize our Salesforce and make it as our ready for the next release. Then we have talked about few project management tools, or you can say the tools which are helpful to manage your process, where we have looked into Jira, SignNow, Smartsheet, Confluence, Gantt chart, Trello, and even looked into some kind of basic Salesforce integrated tool like LinkedIn and GitHub and change set management. And also we have looked into how we can import our data with the help of two different kind of tools, and also looked into different tools as well. So this is what we have covered in the Salesforce journey. Then we have moved forward with a business process mapping, where we have looked into how a particular customer is being mapped with the help of which kind of tools, and what are the various diagrams which has been in basically needed in order to give a certain outcome for your process. And then we have looked into the requirement side, where we have talked about various documents related to the business analyst and why the documents are necessary, and how we can make sure that the document covers all those things which is being required to build your product. And then in the requirement side, we have we have already covered this part, that what are the document side, and what are the five various areas which has been necessary to document your process. And then we have jumped into the user stories, which we have covered yesterday, like the introductory part of the user stories, why we have to create user stories, how do we create it, and what are the various steps involved in it, and how the consideration will take care, how we have to consider these factors in order to write the user stories. Then today we will be looking into the acceptance area, like the what are the criterias for acceptance, the user stories, and then we will be looking into the user experience basics and the pillars of it, and will be looking into the differences between UI and UX. So till now, just do let me know, is there any kind of issues or queries before moving forward? Is there any queries or which you wanted to cover again, so that we will be, go back to that particular slide and looked into that again. All right. So today we will be looking into the acceptance criteria. What exactly acceptance criteria is, and why user stories should involve that kind of criteria, right? Basically, yesterday we have talked about user stories, right, which allows teams to have, one hand on the need, and you can say the needs, wants, and the values for the customer. So, and even it allows us to take the other hand to cover all those activities in order to accomplish
Naman,
the,
sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
Your voice is buffering.
My voice is breaking.
Your voice was stuttering. It was buffering. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So uh, the thing is, like in NCR region, there is a, rain is happening on a day-to-day basis, and it
I know, I know.
it fluctuates
Yes,
the network sometimes, right? Due to that particular
right,
thing,
right.
my voice can be break during the session. Please do let me know if it has been not clear in the further time. So yeah.
It's coming now. It's coming. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So I have been talking about the user stories. So in the previous day, we have talked about user stories, why they have been built, what exactly they allows us. So the thing is, like, user stories allow a particular person to take one hand on the need, want, and values of the customer, and another hand to the activities which needed to be accomplished in order to get a desired result. So we have to look into two different side of the user stories. First one, which is the need, want, and values of the customer, and then the activities which are being involved during the building of the process, because that has to be accomplished in order to get the desired result. So this particular linking, you can say, the user stories linking is done with the help of acceptance criteria. Okay. So acceptance criteria basically gives you a clarity, or you can say a full understanding what we have to build from the scratch, or you can say it gives a uh, maturity for everyone. And they, with the help of acceptance criteria, they comes into a single page that, okay, these are the problems, these are the steps which we have to take care of. And it even help those member in order to complete those kind of steps, right? So it also gives you a understanding what exactly had done, and then what exactly are the things which needed to be covered. And even you can say acceptance criteria are also, helpful for the tester people, that to verify what are the things has been covered. So acceptance criteria gives you a clarity and surety and helpful in order to verify what we have covered so far, right? uh, so you can see in the screen that the potential there is an example written over there, that as a potential conference attendee, I want to be able to register for the conference online, so that registration is simple and paperless. This is a, user story, right? An example. Now looked into the criteria, because we have a user stories in the single line as a I want so that, right? We have talked about the equation yesterday, and you can see the user stories in this particular simple language, that a particular person is needed to be attendee in the conference, and they wanted to register with the help of some automation tool, which has been a paperless thing. So that user stories gives you an idea what exactly we needed to cover. We have built the acceptance criteria into some points. So first one, we needed a conference attendee form, right? Then user cannot submit a form without filling few mandatory things like their name, company, position, billing address, right? Or email address, some kind of mandatory field which we needed to, fix, that at least these kind of things needed to be complete by attendee. Then we have looked into the information form which is needed to be stored into a particular database, might be in your mobile phone, might be in your Salesforce CRM, or might be in some other Google Drive, OneDrive, anywhere. But we needed a database to store those kind of details, right? So there are three things. Then protection, because the thing is like some people can be going in a wrong way, and they might be filling the data in a different thing, so that that will be a spam for us, because that lead is no longer, or you can say the attendee details is no longer valid for us. So that kind of spam, or you can say security thing, should also be taken care of. And once done, whether we are looking into the free side or whether we are including the payment term as well, the people those who are already into the Salesforce ecosystem, they can understand there are various events coming along, the mule shop day, developer days. We have also have the dream in. So those kind of platforms have a payment model, right? In the similar way, you can understand whether the particular event is a free of cost event or we have to pay for that particular event. So that payment thing, whether you are doing it from the debit card, credit card, online mode, or kind of wallet, right? So that is also being needed to think about. Then once we have completed all the details, like we have even completed the payment method as well, whether we are getting a confirmation that okay, my I should have a complete understanding what I have done for a particular event to cover, and even whether I am getting a receipt of my confirmation, right? So that kind of confirmation email or QR, or you can say confirmation receipt or invoice, is being generating after the submission of the form. So these kind of thing will give you a particular journey of a customer from attendee to a particular conference, from registering to the attendee journey. So that particular thing gives you an idea what exactly we needed from a particular process, right? What are the steps which you needed to be covered from the starting point to the ending point. So this is what acceptance criteria ensured you. This is be a detailed oriented. This is gives a condition of satisfaction which is written in the first line itself. So because we are now satisfied that okay, my registration has been now confirmed and I have a receipt of it, once I will be joining that particular event, I will show that receipt, or I will show that QR code to that particular event at person, right? So this particular acceptance criteria help a particular person to give all those things which is be needed to to get a satisfying result. Or you can say once we have set all those expectations, this particular acceptance criteria meet that kind of expectations, right? Is there any doubt? So we can say uh, acceptance criteria gives a particular checkbox thing which has been helpful in each and every steps in order to get a full understanding about what we needed at the last, right? So it's a tick mark thing that okay, once this has been done, then we have to look into the next part, then we have to look into the next step. So each and every steps is been a kind of ticking steps, right? This has been done, this is needed to be done. So this particular acceptance criteria verify all those things which is needed to be covered, whether they are being an automated process, whether they are being a manual task. But acceptance criteria verify all those things, and even it ensure that each and everyone is on the same page, or you can say on the same level, whether you are working as a developer, whether you are working as a tester, whether you are an admin, whether you are a BA, whether you are a product category manager, no matter who are involved in the process, this particular criteria gives each and everyone a common understanding of the problem or the need of the customer, because this clarify what has been done, what are the problems, what are the solutions, what exactly we needed to do. Okay, in a simple language. All right, so yeah, please go ahead and ask. You raise a hand.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Is this any about job about anything job or something else?
Sorry, come again, please.
Is this about something opening job in somewhere or something else? Why are you discussing this acceptance criteria actually? I don't understand.
Okay, so I might have to say this one thing, like you have joined for the first time, so you are not aware about what we have been doing on a regular basis at 8 p.m. IST. But the thing is, like, we have been talking about the business analyst course in this particular meeting, and the people, those who are already been joining, they should have an idea what exactly is been doing. So we are talking about acceptance criteria in terms of stories, which we have talked about yesterday. And user stories provide a particular platform where, gives a understanding what are the requirements from the client side in a simple language. And based on those user stories, we met certain kind of expectations with the help of acceptance criteria. We met those kind of expectations which is being set by the customer with the help of these acceptance criteria. Am I clear on my side?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we have been talking in terms of user, and in order to get a full understanding what a user want, we, set some kind of steps in with the help of acceptance criteria. And once these checkboxes is being completed in each and every steps, we can say that particular customer is now being happy, or now being satisfied, because we have met those expectation of that customer. So those checkboxes, or you can say those acceptance criteria, gives a full understanding about what is the end result. All right, so never mind, moving forward, we have been a user experience basic. So think in this way. Let's suppose you are going to build a particular software product, or you are going to build a certain application, right? Which is being required for like the if you can relate that feedback form, or you can say in the particular slide we have talked about the attendee conference registration application, you can say. Yes, Sarjeet, you have raised a hand. Please do let me know.
Yeah, Naman, just one thing. When we write acceptance criteria in Jira, right?
Uh-huh.
So we don't write like this, right?
Exactly.
Step by step.
Right.
We write in a user
Task and
story form
subtask.
only, like,
Right.
yeah. So
Right.
when such criteria is met, then
Exactly.
this condition should be met, and
Right.
then this.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
will you explain that also, like how to
Sure, sure,
write
sure.
acceptance criteria?
Even the thing is, like,
Sure.
I have covered this part when we are talking about Jira, because the thing is, like, Jira gives you a
Okay.
ability to
Okay.
create a particular project, and in that particular project, we have an ability
Right. Right.
to create a task, and based on that task, we have an ability to create subtask. And once these subtask is
Right.
being completed, we can see that dashboard, that there is a checkbox written just before the subtask or task. We have to just click on the checkbox so that we can understand this has been done.
Okay, so you have explained that in previous Jira video.
Yeah,
All right.
we have talked about
No worries. I will check that out. I will check that out. No
no
worries.
issue. The Jira part
Please
has
continue.
already been covered.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
even we have also talked about how we can assign those subtasks to a particular team member or the person those who are responsible to do those kind of tasks or subtasks.
Right.
How we
Right.
can
Right.
reassign that, how we can comment on that particular task, and even we have also looked into various spaces related to the Jira, like the Confluence
Yeah.
side, where the all
Right.
the documents related to your project has been saved. So
Right.
how we can
Confluence is
create,
another app only, right?
sorry,
Confluence.
yeah, Confluence is another app, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
helpful, to save all your documents. Even you can
Okay.
write each and everything in the cloud.
Mm.
So that is a part of
Right.
Atlassian. So we
Okay.
have talked
Okay.
about these things in the previous sessions itself. I
No worries. No worries. We'll check
Yeah,
that out. Yeah.
and even we
Thanks.
have also
Thanks.
talked about Trello.
Trello.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and if you
I've been
can,
using Jira. I've been using Jira, but
yeah,
sometimes I have this confusion writing acceptance criteria.
right.
It
So
just
acceptance
was there.
criteria is just like a sentence, just one line of
Mm-hmm.
sentence, and even in the second we have a description box in the subtask
Right.
or task where you can mention
Right.
all those things which is needed, right? So I
Right.
have been
Right.
using the same kind of tools in my previous organization and gives the hand
Mm.
on this. So that's why I
Okay.
covered all those part in previous session itself.
Okay. No. Okay. No issues. No issues.
So it's a wide platform where you can get a person, whether they are Indians, whether they are foreigners, each and everyone can collaborate on a single tool, which is Zira. So it's helpful to write acceptance criteria over there. So now moving forward, in the acceptance criteria we have, let's suppose, talked about the application which you are going to build, and based on the criteria or based on the expectations of the client, we have to make sure that okay, it should be look like that particular thing, right? Whether we have a scrolling feature, whether we have a checkbox kind of feature in our application, what exactly digital interface should look like, whether we have to ensure each and everything has been covered in our UI. That means that uh, uh, the definition of done is being completed, you can say, because we are now getting those outlined tasks in order to make sure that each and everything is being covered, and the user experience is been looking like what exactly customer needed. So we have talked about the personas yesterday, right? We are looking again in terms of the customer personas, because we have to look how it going to be feel, how my product is going to be feel once it's been go live. So that particular acceptance criteria gives a full understanding about your customer, or your customer product. And now in the user experience, which you can say which gives you an idea how this particular digital interface will be looking like, or how the service will be look like. So let's break it down in a simple manner. User means the person, those who are going to use this particular product, right? Simply you can say person, those who are going to purchase your product, or you can say I interact with your product, right? And then experience gives you a event, in the series of event, how that particular person is going to interact with your product, whether they are clicking on this particular application, or what exactly they will feel after using my product. So UX is particularly based on the end result, because we have talked about all those things, the documentation part, the personas part, and now the end result has been completed. So once the end result has been completed, how a particular person will feel, right? Because we have to meet those kind of experiences, meet those kind of expectations for the customers. While customer is facing any kind of difficulties using a product, whether they are having some kind of troubles using our solutions, so that kind of thing is needed to be covered previously, before UI is being built, or you can say before UX is being designed. So each and everything is needed to be covered in order to get the desirable product, or you can say a desirable experience for your customers, right? So is there any queries? Please do let me know, because the thing is like each and everything is been now covered. Now the product is being finalized and people are going to use your product. So how they feel, what are their particular values, what are is their ability that they are going to perform all those things which they needed, or might be there are any kind of limitations. So what exactly the experience will be after using your product. So that is exactly what user experience is all about, right? So in the last line you can see UX best practices promote improving the quality of user interaction with and perception of your product and any related services. So it means that itself, if we are using a best practices, right, that means we are promoting the quality of user interaction, because after all user will interact with your product, right? Whether you are building a application, so they will be interacting with your application, and even they will have some kind of perception. Okay, this is the product which I might have used it somewhere in my life. So that kind of perception they will going to build after they will use your product, or might be any services. So we have to take into the account of the business goal and objective in order to make that kind of user experience. I hope this has been clear.
It's clear.
Yeah. All right. So basically, user experience is critical for your success or product failure of your product, right? It means like once user is going to experience your product, they will say that okay, you are having a successful product, but they will feel some kind of error or bugs. It means that your product is failed, right? So, however, whatever you have done, but this is the end result of your product. Okay, so you can say user experience has certain terminologies which is in terms of UX UI. So UI is like a user interface, UX is a design, or you can say a process of design, how particular UI will look like or behave like, and it cover all those visual, whether a certain application is being built, whether you are creating certain website, or you can say what color you are going to use, what kind of button functionalities you are going to use, whether you are using some kind of automation or not. So these kind of UI is covering all those things which is being needed in order to get a successful desired result, right? So I have a good example in my hand, and you can see that if you are going to use your library to borrow a book, if all goes well, you are in and out in 5 minutes. Okay, you scan your membership card, you enter in that particular library area, you follow each and everything, you sign that particular thing, and then you browse the library in the alphabetical manner. You locate your desired book and check it out using your self checkout machine, and you are on your way, right? So this is a good UI look like. Now let's imagine an alternative scenario. You arrived at your library and have a queue at your front desk to enter, because there is no option to scan your membership card. Then there is only one librarian basically on duty, and then they have already helping other person. You have no choice just to wait. 10 minutes later, you finally make it into the library, only to find there is no sign posting on your various sections, right? You make your way back to the front desk and ask where exactly the sci-fi section, or where exactly the math section. You eventually locate at the right section, but might be there is no self, or might be there is no alphabetical order into that particular section. No system at all. So just browsing at random and hope for the best that okay, I might get my book here. So after 30 minutes or half an hour, you will still not able to find your book, right? You got frustrated, and then you leave the particular library area. So this is how a particular day for a person to enter the library and get back to your college, get back to your class without having that library book in your hand. So in the first scenario, you have only 5 minutes where you have scan your card, get into the section with the help of the alphabetical order of your application, and then took that book out and check it out with the help of self check machine, and then you are on your way. So this is how a particular automation work, and this is how you know you ensure that particular thing is being covering each and every steps of your customer, right? So this is how UI design based on the particular process of regular days, right? So how UI design based on the personas of a third person, basically covering all the aspects, or you can say covering all the aspects of how a customer will be going to experience, how they will be looking like, what are their feelings after each and everything, right? So in the library example which I just mentioned, there is an book which you needed to get from the library. You did it with the help of an application which is being built in terms of the physical steps which is being done during the uh, college days which we have gone through in our life, right? So that is how a UX designed based on the specific method, based on the real time scenarios, by covering all the aspect of each and every process. And this is only focused on the end result based on the customer personas, right? Is there any doubt or queries? Please do let me know. Okay, thank you so much. So uh, now looked into the person, those who are going to get this particular thing in done. So these people we say as a UX designer, they are the problem solver. They have a certain tool, might be they are using Sketch, Figma, or Adobe XD, any kind of tool, right? But they are doing it with the help of certain tools. They are the problem solver. They are qualified in order to understand the relevancy of the process, right? They are good at their presenting skills. They are the professional of, you can say, UX portfolio, right? So these are the people which we say as a UX designer, and these are the skills they pursue because they deep dive, you can say, deeply into the customer side, their needs and their behavior, and they conduct those kind of process in their mind. They analyze the users, and they research the documents. They test those kind of usabilities, each and everything, to ensure that design meets the business and user requirements, right? So I believe that you guys can understand what exactly UI design, who all are the people, those who are designing these kind of experiences, and what we say to those kind of people, right? So because these UI and UX are you can say extremely valuable skills, and you can learn it from the Google itself. There are many channels which are teaching you how to build a UI and UX for your customer based on a real time scenarios. But make sure that this has to be user friendly, because this is going to be a for particular thing which says that your product has been have a success, or ensure that your product is met that criteria of the customers. Until and unless they are not satisfied, your product is being failure for them, right? So based on which we have just discussed so far, there are various pillars to build our user experience, right? So we can say user experience is a critical for your success and failure, but based on 7 factors, we can make that experience better. So let's take a look at these factors. First one is useful. Useful, usable, findable, credible, desirable, accessible, valuable. I believe that the name itself suggests that each and everything is being cleared for you. That if the product is usable for you, or for the customer or not, because if it is not being usable to someone, then why would you want to bring it to the market? Because if it has no purpose, then unlikely to be able to compete for attention, right? It's not worthy enough to make an eye for the stakeholder. So it has to be usable enough in order to get an attention from the market side. It has to be usable for the people, those who get an expected result, right? Then usable, useful, usable. So usability is basically concerned about enabling all those things related to the users to effectively and efficiently in order to achieve their end objective with the particular product, right? So in this particular usability, you can say that my particular product, let's suppose a video game or a computer game, is usable for each and every time, not only for the particular scenario, right? My mp3 player should be usable for each and every time, not just for the traveling purpose, right? So that kind of usability should be in your mind, that how your product going to be usable in each and every scenarios. Then findable. Findable basically refers to the idea that particular product must be easy to find, and in the instant of digital market, right? Because we are into the terminologies where we are getting digital update in a day-to-day basis, and that product has to compete on a digital market. In terms of findability, if you are not able to find your product, you are not going to buy it, right? So your product should be available in each and every stores with where a particular user is going to interact. If you are building some kind of houseable product, then you will have a particular website available for you, that at least my product on that particular household website should be easily recognizable by the person. Because you are not able to find your product, then you are not going to buy it, or the customer is not going to buy it, right? That's true for all those potential users, right? Then credible. Credible, like credibility. If you are going to trust, the customer is going to trust your product for longer time. If they are not able to trust your product, then it might say that you are not going to give a full attention, or you are not going to give a full information to the person, to the client, because this particular credibility is based on your trust of your product, and it is being fit for all the kind of purpose. It is solving at least what exactly the requirement was, right? So it is nearly impossible to deliver uh, you know uh, user experience. It's fine, but at least uh, your product should has a trust or a credibility, so that this particular product is being useful in order to get some kind of business, right? So you can say credibility, usability, findability, and then desirable. Desirable, like each and everything, like how my brand look like, what is going to be my identity in terms of market, how my aesthetics look like, what exactly the desirable outcome will be. You can see in terms of cars, there are Skoda, Porsche, both are making the cars, right? Both are useful at some time, for the for the person. They are usable, they are findable, they are accessible, they are credible, they are valuable. But why a particular car is being more desirable than particular another car, right? Porsche or Skoda or Maruti, anything, because they have give something different in their designing, in terms of their branding, in terms of their identity, in terms of their emotional, in terms of anything, right? So that's how a particular desirability for your product should be there, so that most of the people should pursue your product and they decide to buy your product. That kind of likability should be created, right? So there are booking for your particular mobile phone even for 6 months. For that kind of bragging they have created, that the customer is bragging to buy some kind of mobile. They create that kind of desire, right? So that is what desirability is all about. Now moving forward with the accessibility. So accessibility, basically, you can say how your particular product is going to be accessible enough in order to get a full desirable outcome, is about providing an experience, right? What kind of thing is being ability, how I am able to pursue some kind of thing in my particular product. Some kind of let's suppose I have a hearing loss, I have a impaired vision, I might not able to move from one place to another place. Then I needed a particular product to fulfill at least my single thing. So that kind of accessibility is being based on a particular thing, in order to get an idea what exactly they will going to build, they will going to design, right? So you can say might be they are not fulfilling the uh, another requirement, but at least they are fulfilling one requirement out of five. So then it's fine. But don't neglect accessibility in terms of user experience, because it's worth remembering that this is going to be designed in terms of end user only, right? Because you are going to use the user is going to use your product, and it has to be easier for each and everyone, without any having any kind of disabilities, without having any kind of errors. At least they are going to fulfill your one requirement. Then finally we are moving forward with the valuable thing. So valuable, like what exactly the product is delivering a value to the customers, right? It must deliver some kind of value to the business, because we have created it for, right? So why customer is going to buy, who is the customers, and why they will buy it. Without value, it's like why you are going to build it. The product will eventually be under determined, right? So that's why you have to create certain thing in order to pursue your end result, and at least this product has to deliver certain values, right? So you can say the successful product is uh, basically depend upon their utility, usability, findable, accessible, credible, valuable, desirable, right? So there are other thing as well which needed to be taken care while building your uh, product, right? Is there any issues or queries? Please do let me know.
So you were telling right about the success or failure. It's very critical for the this one, right? Even if it is click or it's a failure.
Exactly.
So yeah. So what will happen if it didn't reach the expectation of the end user or someone? If some a bug or error happens,
Mhm.
then what will they do? Like, will they recall or what will they do? How to fix it?
Right.
How?
All right.
Mhm.
So the thing is, it totally depend upon the customer. What they will do? They might not going to use your product, but
Okay.
the thing is that was the worst case, right? But
Mm-hmm.
might be they will give you an alternative that okay, if it is not been happening, can you please try something else? They might be giving some alternative to work on. We If it is a good customer, and then even if it is a bad customer, they might be yelling at you. But
Yes.
being a being a business analyst, you are you are involving a customer from the initial step till the last step. So you have an idea how a particular product will the customer should have an idea how a particular product will look like and what exactly the outcome will be, right? So that is the
Okay.
best practice, to involve the customer in each and every step, so that they will be aware the about the end result. Okay. So and then that is the best practice. Again, think about the second scenario. Once you are building something and not involving the customer in the initial stage, you are at least having a full understanding about how the product will going to build, what are the requirements from the client side. At least you should have a full understanding about these two things, the requirement and how you are going to build your product. Okay.
No.
Now in this particular scenario, what you will do, because your customer is not getting involved, now what you will do, you will iterate, you will retest your product again and again in each and every step, because you have a full understanding about your requirement. If there is a bug in the previous step, then you will fix that particular bug in the next step, then you will test it again, then you will retest again, until and unless a full desired outcome is being, what exactly the desirable outcome is not converted, then you are trying to iterate again and again, you are testing again and again your product. Once it's done, you are fully satisfied, then you are moving forward to include your client at that particular time. That is a second
So,
scenario, because you have a full understanding and your desired result is now completed. Then you go to the customer that, hey buddy, you are not involved in the process of making a product, but look, based on your requirement, I have full fledged your product and ready to use, check it out, right? So in that terms, might be your customer will be happy that okay, because you have a full understanding about requirement. That is the ideal case. But
okay.
the best practice is to involve the customer from the beginning. At least
Okay.
they should have a idea what will be the desirable outcome, right?
Okay.
That was the best practice.
Suppose if we are a production company, like
Hmm.
example, we are making a phone company and we have a client,
Hmm.
like maybe Apple or somebody.
Hmm.
So if that product, if we are the production that this one, right? So if that was a failure,
Mhm,
so that maybe they didn't take the customer's requirement or something like that.
mhm,
They didn't take the customer's requirement. So
mhm.
whose failure would it be? Ours or the client's side?
No, it's our failure. Client is
Okay.
always right. That's a
But
main.
the client are giving the requirements, right?
Yeah,
They
client
know
has
how
given the
to.
requirement in the initial phase. Now they might get an idea that okay, this is not looking good. So it says that they have been shifting from one requirement to another. That is a change request, right? So it means the product is being completed as per the initial requirement, but now if the client is moving from the one requirement to another, that means we needed some improvement again in our product. So in that particular time being, our product is not failed. But let's suppose if the client is only sticked with the initial requirement, and we have built a product based on the initial requirement, but that is not been expected as what the desired result for the in terms of client. So that means we are failed to build or you can say to match that expectation because we have the client has set some kind of expectations out of your product. So it means we are not matching that expectations. In it, that means we are having a failure in terms of our product, because client has
Oh,
initially given the requirement. They are not shifting their requirement from the initial point of view till the end result. So it means this is the failure for R, not the client. Client are always right. Even in India
okay.
we say customer are god. Right? So it
Yes.
means that product is a failure in terms of our side. The product is being built by us, and the product is not matching the criteria what exactly set by the client. So it's a failure
Oh,
from our side. So why to
okay.
go into the failure side? Look at the brighter side.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Look into the brighter side, that okay, my product will be going to best in the market, because we are
Yeah.
iterating, we are involving the customer. The best practice is to involve the customer, right?
Yes.
So iterate, retest again and again until the fully furnished product is okay. Someone has raised a hand, please do let me know. Yeah, please ask. Balram, you raised
Hello.
a hand. Yeah,
Yeah. Naman Balram this side.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
please.
I understood, you mean to say, like, each and for each and every stage, we need to involve the client and we need to check the requirements of the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
At each and every stage, you mean
Mm-hmm.
to say this, right?
Yeah, but that's not a ideal
Okay.
case. Right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
client will not going to involved. But the thing is like that,
yeah,
that's a best practice.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any queries? I thought that there is any query. Yeah, so the thing is like at least this is the best practice, because it gives a client an understanding about how will be, a particular stage is being completing,
Yes.
what is going
So,
to be the end result.
yeah. So because at each and every stage, the client will change their decisions at some particular stage.
why
They
they
will
will
change their
why they
decisions.
will change the decision. If they are changing it,
Maybe,
it means they are shifting from the initial requirement. That is a change request. That is altogether a
yeah.
different requirement.
Yeah.
If the initial requirement is already been documented and shared with the client, then they have to stick with the initial requirement, right? And if they are shifting from the initial requirement, it means that they are changing the requirement. It's a change request, and altogether a new request basically, right?
Okay. Basically, it will happen as well. Some all the document will not get changed. I mean, all the customization or implementation, they will not change it. Like
Hmm.
some
Some kind of
minor,
functionality, minor.
yeah, 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 some minor changes they
Hmm.
need to do. So
Hmm.
at this point, they will be expecting the same result what they were thinking. So at this point, we need to involve the client at each and every
Exactly,
stage.
exactly,
Yeah,
because they have
yeah.
requested some minor changes in our process,
Hmm.
which is fine. Okay, this happened during the physical process building or product building, so it's completely fine. They might have asked the minor changes. Then once we are implementing those minor changes and getting a result, that means might be the UI got changed, the some different functionalities got impact based on the minor change. So it means that user
Yes,
needed to be involved in order to understand what are the impact of your minor change,
right,
right?
right,
So
exactly.
it means, let's
Yeah,
suppose if you are a developer and if you are developing a single button on the UI, and you are coding with the help of you are building a button with the help of some field on the in Salesforce, which has been a custom object. But later on your customer says that field is not needed, can you please delete that? And based on that particular field itself you have built a button. So this is overall functionality going to be impact.
it'll get changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
right,
functionality will impact, right? Because you
right,
had taken the
right,
you
right.
API from that particular button itself, the field itself, right?
Correct,
So that impact should be
correct.
conveyed to the customer, that hey, you cannot delete this particular button at all, you cannot delete this particular field because the button has been based on that particular object field, right? So
Field.
that is
Right,
where the customer needed to be involved.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Raman.
Okay,
Thanks
no
for the
issue, no
information.
issue. So I hope this has been cleared, and we have came so far. And now coming to the differences between UI and UX, just wrapping with this particular slide, we are not taking longer. So UI is basically what you wanted to see, and UX is basically what exactly the design is going to be built, right? So you can say user interface design is not same as experience at all, right? User experience will be based on their real experience, and UX basically is giving UI is the end result of UX, you can say, right? So because UI is what people will see and touch, but UX is basically how they feel, right? So UX is the intangible design, or you can say UX is entirely based on the experience of the customer or the stakeholder. But UI is basically based upon the design, how particular design is being going to be built based on your field research, based on interviewing, whether you are gathering some kind of data, whether you are writing some kind of requirements, whether you are prototyping, whether you are using some kind of visual design, or might be you are presenting and speaking some kind of thing. So based on those things UX is being built, right? But is typically seen like a visual diagram. It's purely based on the interface design, based on the experiences which end result, the client is going to get the end result, right? So UI and UX has certain differences, you can say. Exactly, the UX is the design, right? And your experiences is basically based upon the end result, based on the usability, based upon the limitations, right? This might be any thing, but that is what exactly the end result is all about, based on the client personas, how they feel, how they behave after using your product. So this is how designer collaborate with the UI and designing terms, right? So this is entirely a different thing, just to get an idea how UX and UI is totally different. Okay, so is there anything which you wanted to ask? Please do let me know. Or if you wanted to, get hands on UX